actually going. The stream is going to be public. You're live.
You're live. Hello. This is live. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Okay. Say something. Salut.
There is a live
Bienvenue.
because I'm not showing you live yet. Now you're going live.
Which is hello. Welcome. Yay!
So go something.
Yeah.
And I can hear people in the game, so you're good.
Okay.
No
All right.
echoes, no nothing.
Cool.
You can end the stream.
Yeah. I can end the stream. Wait, what time is it? Oh, it's just a test.
Yeah, or you can just stream
So-
from now. You can consider this your stream.
I
Go
could.
for
Would
it.
I have to rename it? Rename the stream? Okay. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is a test. This is only a test for the next 60 minutes. We're going to do a test of the national broadcasting. This is my first YouTube stream. Hello. And it is good that it is here. I'll probably rename this since the test went well. And you can hear me fine. You might hear a person in the background. That person is Vincentius Primus, who is another gamer. And right now,
Quality seems to be fine.
excellent. He is assisting me with the IT part of this, moving to YouTube to stream. So here I am. So, welcome, welcome. Here is what I'm going to do. I just happen to be in Omo, which is my very first mine colony that I ever streamed, which started only last February 2019. And it started right on this sandy beach. I rode in on a horse with no name and found this castle. The castle's gone. The only evidence of the castle still left are these sealed fireworks bays that are in the ground here. And I looked at this area, and you can't actually see right now, but where that big building was behind me was actually a mountain, and there was this beautiful water. And over in this direction, and by the way, I'm just warning you that this is creative, this is peaceful. I am just a builder who loves people and who loves watching colonists and watching villagers. So I am in creative, and I'm going to rise up. This is Minecolonies, and I have this entire city. So I'm going to rise up right quick so you can see the expanse of the city at this particular time. The city is fairly big right now, but when I first got here, all there was these mountains behind me and this savanna and this desert, and it was like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. And look at this beautiful mountain area here. So this mountain area right here was like, wow, this is what I want. This is where I want. So when I first got here and rode in on a horse with no name, I actually was in survival. So Vincentius Primus, I told Vincentius Primus, this is where I want to be. And so he created Cliff's Bottom for me. This is Cliff's Bottom. This is inside this mountain is a place where I could come, and there were machines and that would help me in survival to build a base. And you can see refined storage, you can see thermal expansion, you can see cyclic, you can see a lot of different ones. And in the beginning it was powered by trees growing over the hill here. Those plots were actually the power grid. Vincentus Primus was powering the base with I'd have to go down and see. I'm not actually sure, but that looks like industrial foregoing, yes. And you can see some baby trees until he got to the point where he could make solar panels. And now solar panels, oh my, lions and tigers and bears, oh my. I wonder if the solar panels got, no, I think it just is using the one solar panel. Yeah, I thought there was more, but I think it's just using the one. And all these machines. And later on, because you have to sleep when you're in survival, you have to sleep, period. I like sleeping. Later on, I built this off room and furnished it. This off room is furnished with Mr. Crayfish's Furniture Mod, and I am using Chroma Hills resource pack for the pack for in 12, which is how I'm getting the materials to look the way they do. I'm also using Misa. Misa is an old resource pack. The only part of it I'm using is the part for the villagers' faces. The villagers' faces are the only thing. And these people down below are colonists. They are not villagers. If you look in my pack, I think, yes I do. Ooh, I have 3 zombie villagers. Oh my gosh. So I can take them over to one of the neighboring villages and get them healed, and they'll join that village. But I'm not going to do that first. So I arrived here in survival, and I said, this is perfect. And so then I went over to the waterfront to meet the colonist ship. And this is the ship the colonists came in on. This ship right here, it is in dry dock right now, which is why all the sails are gone. 4 colonists arrived on this ship, and since the colonists were connected to the ship for a long time while I was in survival, I used the ship to as a base when I didn't go up to Cliff's Bottom. And this was the bedroom, although this bedroom has been redone a couple times because of the as time passed and we got more experience. But this ship was the ship that the colonists arrived on, and the colonists arrived on this sandy beach, and the very first colonist to become a builder, his name was Jacob, and Jacob started building this city hall. And of course, because you're building in levels, the city hall that he built didn't look like this when he first started. This is a level 5 sandstone city hall that has been modified by me with some personal decoration and changes Um, in City Hall, you can recognize it as one of the older generation city halls because sandstone, because it has birch instead of cactus for the wood for the floors and things like that. Now, because of crayfish and because of chisel, I have some of the different looks are the result of chisel, Chroma Hills, and crayfish, giving me wonderful pieces, which I just love. And here we are. This is City Hall, and this is the town book. And on this book, you can see that I have 88 people living in this town. It used to be larger than that. The town originally started out, the program originally started out with 50, and then I raised it to 75, and then I put it back down to 25, and then just recently I raised it up to 50 and then to 60. So this is because there are 3 cities that I have, 3 Minecolonies cities. All the cities are running on the same engine and have the same number of people limit. So because Omo was first and originally had 75, it got up to 92 people, but because we're over the 60 limit, when soldiers or people have died, they haven't been replaced. So this is the entire city list, and these are all of my people. And it's really interesting because the first 4 names on this list have changed. Diana and Alex are now the only 2 left from the original 4 people. Hello, Nat Kings. Nice to see you. I'm just getting started. I'm just getting used to this. This is a test, so I'm not always used to answering chat right away. So don't be offended if I don't answer you. I just forget to look sometimes. So, Diana and Alex are actually the first 2, the first and the only ones left of the first 4 of the colonists who came in. And what time is it? It is daytime. Yay! And Diana worked a little bit. Both Diana. What I did with Omo was I made all 4 of the original colonist builders. And so Jacob started this building, but then Diana and Alex did some of the work on the building, and finally I believe actually Diana finished the building. So let me show you just for a minute. This is the city hall in its fullness. We changed this room. Now I opened this room up, the doors in this room, because when you do a town hall, when you call all the citizens and 80 people try and squeeze into this room, it's not pretty. So I didn't want that to happen, so that's what I did. And then we changed the furniture in these areas where there is meeting. I love Chroma Hills' note blocks. They're just really pretty. And we are using, and this is actually storage, City Hall storage that is here. And then it's sort of like emergency supplies for if something happens. the beautiful fountains, gorgeous, gorgeous stone. And on this side, I believe this is also storage over here, although we do have an anvil in this area in case we needed. And over here is just a little reading area, a little meeting area, comfortable seating. And upstairs, now in the old hotels, in the old city halls, I just saw someone. There's Adrian. Adrian Godfrey is our accountant, and he is also the manager of the warehouse. And even though those businesses are not recognized by Minecolonies, that's who he is. That is how he is recognized in my game. And in both of these upstairs areas, there is a hospitality suite, which was used in the beginning for when people were waiting for housing to be built and things like that. This has been redecorated a couple of times as the city has grown, and I think this area, I haven't been here in a while. Yes, the library. This is the city hall's records room, where they keep the records of all the people who live here and all of that information. Can I cross over? I think I can. And then this is the meeting room, the city council room, and it has a beautiful view. And then over on this side, we have up here, yes, we do. We have an actual, including an anvil, we have an actual enchanting room. And it's furnished a little bit differently than the vanilla version of this would be, but it was originally an enchanting room. Usually I don't change. I'll tell you if I change like the purpose of the room or something. But if the room was originally a room with beds in it, then I don't usually change things like that, because I like it. I like it all. So this is City Hall. I think that is everything about it. Yeah. So let's go out. So as you know, if you know Minecolonies, City Hall has to be made before you can do anything else, because City Hall is how you get the people. So then we had Jacob, and Jacob built this this builder's hut. So you need a builder's hut in order to be able to build anything. And so Jacob built this hut, and this was his hut for until his death. And unfortunately, his death was not that long ago, or fortunately, his death was not that long ago. Everyone was very saddened when he passed away, but I should talk about his life before I talk about his death, right? Because Jacob was a very interesting person. This was his builder's hut, and in the very beginning he was very busy building things and didn't really pay attention to people on the whole. But the students, the female colonists that we had were very attracted to him. So one of the first colonists, Rebecca, she lived with him. Jacob and Rebecca lived together for a very long time. Their house, their first house doesn't exist anymore. It was originally the first house that was built here was a sandstone house, but that sandstone house has actually been moved to, because this became the harbor area, and that house was the location was of the house was not conducive to what needed to be put in this area. It was going to be torn down, but the current residents of the house, Tiago, who is the master at arms of the Ranger Academy, and Jade, who is the principal of the university, the dean, I should say, of the university, they petitioned the city to save the house. And the city said, well, you can have the house, but you can't change anything about the house on the outside because you're saying it's historical and that's why we're going to move it. So they did. And so Jade, I can't go in here because it's nighttime. Are they home yet? Oh, they're not home yet. Oh, good. Okay, so nothing's been done to this house. Here comes Tiago. Okay. I'm not going to go in while they're sleeping. So let me go into this builder's hut right here, which belongs to Linda. And I'm going to go up here and just go to sleep so that I can continue and show you the first house that was built. So here we go. Now the interesting thing about this first house is that in some respects it isn't the first house anymore, because the first sandstone house did not have cactus wood as the wood. All sandstone in the beginning had birch, and this little kitchen space was actually just a porch in the very first version of this house, but now they closed it in and gave it it actually, even in vanilla Minecolonies, this is a very pretty kitchen. And then but we changed that out. We're using this table in here for the table, and just using the hut block as a side table here. And then upstairs, this is the thing that really hasn't changed, is that this upstairs is open, and the bedroom is essentially still made out of stone and is pretty bare in comparison to some other places that I have, but they enjoy it. They like it. It's what they liked, and we're really good at that. So we're good with the fact that they like it. So here we are. That was showing you the very first house that was built. And this very first house was actually built by the second builder. All the builders in the beginning helped build each of the buildings. So for instance, you have 5 levels, and while everyone was growing, in other words, you need a 5 builder in order to build a 5 building. So while that was going on, you had other builders who were at lower levels who were helping with builds. So Jacob liked living with students. The first student that he lived with, Rebecca, she was a student for a long time, and then she decided that she wanted to be a businesswoman, and so she became, she started one of the delivery businesses, and her name is Rebecca, and she owns this delivery business here. But when she became the owner of a business, this delivery business. Jacob and her agreed to separate. The people in these colonies, they choose each other. And if they decide that they don't want to be together anymore, then they agree to separate. And that's all that happens. So they agreed to separate. And then Jacob took in a student who lived with him again for a fairly good time, and then she decided that she liked building as much as he did, and she became a builder. Now the problem is I cannot find this woman's name to save my life. I don't know why I don't have a record of her name. Probably because I didn't start keeping records until the first wave of children came, which was much later on in the colony's existence. So this building is a historical building. This is a taiga builder's hut. It is the last of its kind. There are no taiga buildings anymore in Minecolonies, and so if anything happens to this building, I can't replace it. And so this was the original builder's hut of the female builder who was living with Jacob, and then she wanted to be a builder, so she moved out. And when she moved out, no one was living with Jacob at the time, and all these women found him attractive, and it was like, ooh, who is he going to pick? It was hard to tell. And then finally he settled on Evelyn, and Evelyn settled on him, but Evelyn didn't settle on him. Evelyn actually was crazy about him and actually absolutely made it her business that she was going to be chosen by him. So she was. And they lived together. They actually lived together for a long time, until she decided that she wanted to be in the military. So all these women that he liked were all students. And then when it was time for them to graduate and choose a profession, and they chose something, that's usually when he lost interest. So all of that happened, and then finally the last woman who he lived with was Catherine Gray. And Catherine was interesting. So they lasted the longest. He was with her the longest until his death, because she was a teacher and she didn't leave academia. So she was always a student, in other words. So they had a house that used to be located right here on this spot, but because of what happened, that house is gone. So Jacob had his hands in pretty much almost everything that you're looking at. Everybody built a lot of things. Jacob built a lot of things. So when the time came for there to be a waterfront, to make the waterfront a seaport, all these jungle boardwalks are relatively new. When it came to build these, this was experimental, and Jacob, being the most experienced, he was going to build it. And there was an accident while he was building it. Actually, what happened was there was a second, this was not the original ramp to the boat, or gangplank to the boat, there was another gangplank underneath this, and apparently there was some sort of construction accident, and Jacob got trapped in some kind of way, fell into the water, got trapped, and drowned. So the city was terribly, terribly, terribly distraught when that happened, losing one of the original colonists at that time, and Catherine and her son, Adrian, her son with Jacob, they mourned his death. As a matter of fact, Adrian, who was living in the dormitories at the time, moved back in with his mother when she was in mourning. And he stayed there, as she kind of was saying to him, you know, it's okay, you can go back, you know, and live in the dorm, you know, have your life and stuff like that. And he was like, well, I don't know, but he did. But he noticed that she still wasn't doing well, and so Madison, who took over Jacob's builder's hut, Madison was a friend of Catherine's, and Madison suggested to Catherine that she get away from all the things that reminded her of Jacob, like the house and things like that, move in with her, and sell the property to the university, who wanted to build a new magical arts tower, and they wanted the property for that. So Jacob's chosen, Catherine, moved in with Madison into one of the houses in the farm area, and that's where she lives today. And Adrian, her son, is actually living in the dorm, but he is a teacher in Catherine's school. Catherine, speaking of Catherine, is now the principal of the prep school. And since Omo only has 2 schools, and the kids only start going to school when they're young adults, so because of that, there is only prep school here, and there is the university. And there's the university back here, which is one of Jacob's accomplishments. So the university actually has a cemetery. It's actually a part of the vanilla build of the university to have a cemetery. And this is pretty much how it looked. I think I just added the signs and I added these chests to hold the people who have passed away. So in this chest are military who have passed away in battle. So sadly, all these people were killed during the time that we did not have a truce with the barbarians and the pirates, and they were killed during that time. These are actually citizens. Those were Marines you just saw who were killed. These are actually citizens who actually lost their lives in the city. And Alice, I wonder if Alice is actually, yeah, Alice is the second builder to take over the original female builder's hut, that Taiga one. And then these are people who died by accident, that there was some accident in the city and that accident killed them. So there's Jacob in this memorial, and this is the cemetery for the city is a part of the university. So that is the story of Jacob, and he was one of the first four. The second of the first four, Alex, of the four builders, Alex was the second builder of the first four, and his building was located right here. And it was interesting, his building was located right on this spot. There are three buildings missing from this spot, the three original buildings. And the reason they're gone, of course, as I said, is because we have some different plans for this area of the city. But in the meantime, this is where Alex's builder's hut was right here. And Alex, although he did not build that sand house that I showed you, he moved into it, and he moved into it with a newcomer, the next generation, the next group of people who moved in. One of the women, her name was Fortune, and he and Fortune moved in together. They chose each other and lived together, and they were really very happy for a long, long time. What Alex would do was he would build houses, and then he and Fortune would live there for a while, and then they'd sell it to someone else. So they originally had a taiga house here. They built this house, and they built it for themselves, but then Parnell and William decided that they loved the house, and so Fortune and Alex moved out, and William and Parnell moved in, and Fortune and Alex moved into a taiga house that used to be right here, that Alex actually built specifically for Fortune. While Fortune was decided from the very beginning that she was going to be a restaurant owner, and so Alex, I think, started her restaurant, but Diana, I think, mostly built it, and then one of the later builders finished it. But this is Fortune's restaurant. Fortune's and Alex still here. This is Fortune's restaurant now, and this is pretty much what it looks like, except you can see Crayfish's chairs and some extra things of Mr. Crayfish in here. I'm amazed that I haven't given her a crayfish sink, and I could do that instead of the cauldron. Just added some things to this that have to do, but because it's so old, because it's one of the oldest buildings in the city, it has the least amount of work done in the rooms. And but I just loved it when I first saw it, because it absolutely, to me, from the very beginning, looked like it should be for Fortune. So in the beginning, like I said, I was in survival, so you can imagine how old that cake is. I think it's just a statue now of the cake. But this is where she comes and still works. But Alex and Fortune, he built this beautiful house for Fortune, a taiga house, and they lived there, and they were very happy. And then, with a wave of people who came in, a young woman came in named Beatrice Harris, and she wanted a chicken farm. And Alex built her chicken farm, and she had a specific idea about the farm that she wanted. She was going to have organic chickens, and she wanted to make sure that I might have to rescue some of these. She wanted to make sure that did that chicken just walk in there on its own? Okay. And so Beatrice, this was Beatrice's chicken farm that Alex built. But this was the most interesting thing. This was the very first time with Alex that there was this noticeable anomaly in regards to the way they were. Alex built the building for her, but then after it was finished, after he was done building it, he still came and visited her every day. He would go out of his way to visit her, completely out of his way to visit her. Now, I know there's some aspect of the way Minecolonies works that would explain that, but he was going out of his way to visit her. And finally, he professed to Fortune, that he wanted a separation, and she, because of the way they are, if you are unhappy, she gave it to him. She was a little unhappy about it, but she understood that she had lost him anyway. And so Fortune went and lived with Diana and a builder that Diana was mentoring, whose name was Alice, and Fortune went and lived with them. And Alex stayed because because Fortune didn't want the house anymore. Alex moved Beatrice into the house, and Beatrice and Alex lived in the house that he used to live in with Fortune. But one of the things that he didn't realize about Beatrice, but she told him up front, and I guess he was like most people in good, sure. She said, I am not committing to this being chosen. I like you and I'll live with you, but I like other people too. And as a matter of fact, head over heels in love with her as well was Commander Jeffrey Bassett, who was at the time just a knight, but eventually became commander of the command station and museum. This is the command station and museum for all the military. This is the command post. So you see where the command post is. But Jeffrey was always stationed here. And when it finally became the command post, he actually was offered the command ship. This used to be the edge of town. This used to be where town ended until some farmers started moving out here and moving on to the savannas in the back. So Jeffrey was visiting Beatrice as much as Alex was living with Beatrice. So Alex decided, as a way to win her heart, to tear down the taiga house that he built for Fortune and build Beatrice a house of her own. And this is the house that Beatrice wanted, and this is the house that he built for her. And all the decoration and stuff was all specifically for Beatrice. And she moved into the house, and she actually did choose him after that time. She did not like, it took it's better to say that it took Jeffrey a long time to accept it, to accept that she had chosen Alex, but she did stay, and she even stayed after his 3 kids came, because during the time that just after they moved into this beautiful new home, the immigration restrictions were lifted on the city, and the immigrants, and this is what happens with the immigrants. This is the story, that the immigrants come in, they must be single parents. If they are parents, they must be single parents, and if they are, and they can't, so in other words, they must be single. They can be widows or they can be divorced, but they have to be single, and they cannot bring, if they have children, they cannot bring them in the beginning. It's too dangerous, all of that. So then a time comes when the city is definitely in a better way, and the children come, and his 3 kids came, and she was not keen about being a parent, but she stuck it out. The kids grow up fast. The kids grew up really fast, and the kids, she, I think, actually came to, love and care for them, and everybody was happy. And as a matter of fact, because they were living in this house, and this house is too small for 3 kids and 2 adults, there was a fisherman who Alex had built a house for him on the coast, and that house used to sit right here. There used to be a house right here. As a matter of fact, see the ground right there. You see all of that multicolored, multi-materials on the ground is the remnant of the original old house that used to be here. And it was a birch version of this house right here. This is actually, I believe, oak, yes. But this house this house actually has, and I'll show you, but this is the house that, this is a type of house that Alex and Beatrice and his 3 kids moved into. And so upstairs here is the master bedroom, although in this house there's only 1 bed in this room, and they have the balcony up here. Nothing much has been done to this house. I have other houses where lots of things have been done. The carpet is this way because this house actually has a double bed in it, but there's only 1 person using this bedroom, and so the bed has been folded up so that because it's not needed. And then down here is oops, I'm going all the way down instead of around the corner. Down here is the second room that had a double bed, and you can see that only 1 person is using it. I love this closet. It is so cool. And then in this study is a 3rd bed. And so essentially it is one of the largest houses, having 3 bedrooms. There is a Space Wars house that has 5 bedrooms, and there is a Dwarven house that also has 5 bedrooms. So that essentially is where Alex and Beatrice and the kids moved until the kids grew up. And actually the first one to really grow up was Peyton. And Peyton wanted to be a restaurant owner like Fortune. And so Alex built Peyton this restaurant. And this restaurant has been the materials have been changed on it. This is actually a Mesa design restaurant, except that we have changed the materials to make it just a little bit different from the vanilla Minecolonies Mesa design restaurant. But this was Peyton's. This is the restaurant that Alex built for her. And there she is. And Peyton is Alex's daughter. Alex's son, Joel, actually stayed home and was a student, and he studied and was teaching and studying for the longest time, and then at one point decided that he actually, before he made this decision, he had a study partner that he was very that he liked a lot, and she didn't want to live in the dorm. He wasn't living in the dorm. So their parents, Alex and Beatrice, said, well, the house is big enough and no one else is here. You should come here and you can share the house with us. So they shared the house until they went to the barracks to live. They both became rangers. And unfortunately, on one of her first tours of duty, Zoe, who Joel had chosen, she actually took on a spider, and she was unprepared, and she lost her life, which was very sad. So Joel right now is at the Combat Academy. He is waiting for one of the new towers where he is going to be reassigned, since the barracks, the city's barracks, is no more. And I'll talk about that later. But Alex and also has a third child, Linda, who became a builder, and Linda is the one whose builder's hut is out here, which is the one that we stayed in earlier. And Linda has turned into an excellent builder, just like her father. And Linda is not living with anyone. Linda actually lives in this apartment building right here with other singles. There are several singles who live in this apartment building, and she lives here too. And then Peyton fell in love with one of the builders who came along later, and it has a builder's hut close to the university, and we're going to go over there, because when Peyton first opened the restaurant and she was in the neighborhood, she wanted a farm to table, and even though it's pretty fancy, in the beginning it was just a taqueria. And then as time went on, she had more and more people coming at night to the restaurant, and she decided to have a more fancy restaurant and leave the fast food to the university's little restaurant. So she met George at that time, and George was a builder, and George built this house back here, and she and George lived in this house. Why is this door open? That's Lance. Lived in this house for many's. And then George was building a special house that I don't know whether he was actually making it for anyone or maybe he was just keeping it as a surprise and he didn't want Peyton to know about it until it was completed. But George built a Mesa design house. This is actually a Mesa house that has been and I don't know what to call it. I'm going to have to figure out what to call this thing that I do when I take the design of the house and just use it as a beginning, as a starting point, and then the house is changed into materials to either fit in the neighborhood or just to be different. So this is a Mesa design house where we changed where the stairs came in and we added a door onto this porch area. There isn't a door normally there. And then we gave them an outdoor kitchen in this area, which was one of the first. This is one of the first apartments, first one of these houses that I did the outdoor kitchen in. And so they have this beautiful veranda, and they have, I don't have any chairs there. I'll have to remember that. And this is the downstairs. It's nighttime. If I go upstairs, let me just sleep here for a minute. Let's try sleeping on their couch. I'm going to need a blanket in order to do that. So let's use this blanket and let's sleep right here. There we go. And there we are. So it should be daytime now. And we should see George or did they make it? Yes, George is home. Where is Peyton? Peyton probably stayed out, or she went in early because that's right, when I sleep, then and there's George going to work. So here is what their upstairs looks like. We gave them, this is the bedroom in their upstairs, and then they have this lovely patio here connected to their bedroom. So this is Alex's daughter's house, and George and Peyton, they did not have, wrong door, they did not have any kids. So Alex actually does not have any grandchildren at this particular time. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. I don't know that that we can afford to have any more people. Speaking of which, there's George now talking. Well, he's not talking. They're actually playing war games. The Combat Academy kids, they play war games with each other, and Elizabeth and Joel are playing war games out in the street. Every once in a while it's like, people, will you take that to the Combat Academy, please? And speaking of the Combat Academy, we'll just follow them over there for a moment. So this is where Joel is now. As I said, he unfortunately did lose his chosen Zoe, and he who was a ranger. They were both rangers, and it's one of the reasons why he's becoming a knight. I think he feels that if he had been a knight, that maybe things would have been different. So that is what's happening. And you're taking a dip. Oh no, They're practicing. So now there's Jade, and Jade's actually the instructor in the academy. And this is quite an amazing building here. This is a building that Jacob and Alex both worked on this building. And it sort of acts almost as the northern gate because it's so big. But since we're here, let's go up for just a minute upstairs into the building. There are some areas that still, I probably left that door open, that still need some little things done. Because this building is the oldest, there are some modernizations that haven't been done, like having lights instead of having torches. And it's just that I haven't gotten to every place yet that has torches everywhere in this city because it's so huge. So there are places that when I come up, it's like, wow, it still has. So there are all these little rooms up here for the students, and there are little places for them to eat and for them to study and all of that. So I'm just going to take these two away for a minute since I did have light in my hand and I am putting it down. So in the beginning, when we first started OMO, like I said, we actually did have constant attacks from barbarians, and it was exceedingly dangerous, exceedingly stressful, and could have very easily, did I just remove that? I think I just did. Could have very easily had led to the demise of the city, but the city persisted and decided to attempt to actually have a truce, and the first truce was made with pirates. The pirate ships would come into the harbor and they would taunt you into fighting with them. And Omo resisted the taunt and said, "We're not interested in fighting. If you need safe harbor, you're welcome to be here so long as you don't start trouble." But that was only after maybe like 7 or 8 pirate ships came in and had to be fought. And then one time the city sort of went, okay, let's just tell them you can stay here if you want, and we won't bother you so long as you don't bother us. And that pirate ship said, okay. And it did not. In a couple days, it left peacefully. And when we realized that the pirate ship could leave peacefully like that, it was like, wow, we don't actually have to fight them. We could actually let them go and let them just come, and when they're ready, let them just leave. And so that is essentially what began to happen, that they came and let's put it right here, and then they would use services, go to the restaurants, do things like that, and then in a couple days they would leave. So it was like, that is so cool. What if we could do the same thing with the barbarians? What if we could have a truce? And so we did. We arranged a truce. And I don't know which came first, being in creative or arranging the truce. Interesting. George just finished with one of the towers, and he's going to start building another tower. Since I happen to be here, I'm actually going to look at his list of materials, and I'm going to just check off all these things and say yes, that those things are good, and we will pay for them. So he is ready to start the next thing that he is doing, the next tower that he's doing. So since we're talking about barbarians and being attacked, the city of course has 4 sides. The city is in the south. Well, we're in the north. So this is the northern border of the city right here, and we will explain at this time that when Madison took over Jacob's building hut at one of the city council meetings, the city hall meetings, she brought up the fact that a lot of the towers, the patrol towers, and the barracks, which was a dark oak barracks that used to sit right here, that those buildings could very easily be burned down because they were made out of wood. She was just saying one flaming arrow and your building's gone, your barracks is gone, your patrol tower is gone. And the city was like, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. So a huge project got started where all of the patrol towers were to be replaced. And these wooden towers that you see here, this is the stage 2 or 3 of a stone tower that will eventually be there, and also this is a lower stage of the stone tower that's going to be here for rangers, and this is a 3. So we're going to have George continue working on this. So after he gets done with the next one, there's construction tape here, so he's obviously working on this tower, and that's what he's doing. He's taking it from a 2 to a 3. So George is managing 3 building projects. You just saw 2 of them. And then the 3rd one is over here, is the Ranger Tower for, well, actually it's the Knight's Tower for this Ranger Tower. The Ranger Tower was here first, but it was originally a Knight's Tower. But I've decided that the style of this tower is excellent for rangers to be. And this has been Anna's tower the whole time, Anna Goldwell. This was her tower. So because of that, we're just leaving her until this Knight's Tower is done, and then she will get a ranger, and the 2 of them will be stationed in these towers. In the towers here on the northeastern side is David Haddon, and I'm not sure who's in here. I have to check. Let's see. And Solomon Harris. Solomon is is Jade, who is the dean of the university. Solomon is Jade's son, and he's in this tower. And then over here, there's always been 3 towers here. This used to be the end of the city. This line right here used to be the end of the city. So you see there are 2 towers, the tower with the flag on it. These are Mesa, these are the Mesa towers right here. And this used to be where the city ended, right here, before people started farming out here. And so because they were farming, we brought the another set of towers up to the city gates, so that people would be safe, because the city gate is built on the ancient wall of the city. When we had barbarian attacks, there was this idea that building a wall around the city would keep the barbarians out, but it did not. And worse than that, it not only didn't keep the barbarians out, but it hindered the military, our Marines, from being able to get back into the city when they had left, because that's what they did. They would be on either side of the city. So that's why we had yes, that's why we moved the towers out. But these 2 towers and these 3 towers right here, this blacksmith used to be a tower, and then the equestrian tower, and then this ranger tower. Now this ranger tower used to be taiga, but now it is one of the ones that was turned completely stone. This equestrian tower used to be wood. It used to be all spruce, and it was turned into a stone building, so that it would be less susceptible to fire. And then let me see, Noah's shop, his blacksmith shop, was moved from, it used to be right next to the compost. That's compost right there. Straight ahead of me is compost. And Noah's blacksmith house used to be right here, but now he is located in this new, where the other tower used to be. He's located right here where the other tower used to be, and a new tower is being built where his house used to be. And this is the level 5 of those wood towers you saw earlier. This is what they look like at level 5. And then, because the towers also on the southern border were inside the city, we decided to move them. So this blank space right here used to be where there were 2 towers. You can see the remains of one of the towers, but there used to be a Ranger Tower and a Knight's Tower right here. But with the Ranger Academy coming in, it was decided that, this is the Ranger Academy right here, it was decided to move the towers to the border. And so this is the Knight's Tower now on the border, and this is the Ranger's Tower on the border. And the interesting thing about those was that they were originally stone and were turned into sandstone buildings. So now, so that is the two towers being moved to the wall in order for them to better cover the city. And finally, right here are the first, is the first one of these. Now, in the east, in the southeast, there was originally another one of these sandstone towers, but not anymore. So this sandstone tower is the last of its type. And here's a perfect example of what we're going to do eventually. This stone tower, Ranger Tower, is going to be changed to look like this sandstone Knight's Tower. So even though it is made out of stone right now, we're going to make it out of sandstone and these materials as soon as it is ready to have that happen, so that they will match. And this tower right here belongs to Philippa, who is our, at the present, our most senior Marine. She is a knight. She has been a knight. She has seen many battles, and she is still alive to talk about it. And I think with so let me show you that on the bayfront side, bayfront being where ships are going to come in and dock now, there is another set of towers being built right here. And those towers are because the actual town has expanded over to this side of the bay. So this is the bayfront right here. And that's actually all the towers. Then we're back to these two towers right here that Madison is working on. And these two towers and those two right there are going to be connected, and they're only going to be connected in the fact that they're going to their purpose is to be backup for a gate. As soon as George is done with those towers, we're going to have him build an actual proper gate on the north front. And the reason for that proper gate is that tower over there that you can see in the haze of the difference. Whoa! That tower is still a working tower, and that tower is still potentially a threat. If something were to happen and the truce was ignored or the truce was violated, we would have to have someone here. So that is, I believe, all that I'm going to be able to show you in this test stream this time. And wow, that was pretty wild. That really was. And so it's just kind of wild for me because I didn't just go back into the history a little bit and to actually go, wow, yeah, I rode in on a horse. I started it in survival, but look what it's come to now. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I actually play on a regular basis on Twitch in the early mornings and on Mixer in the afternoons. So if you're interested, in seeing me actually play, because I haven't done much playing. I've sort of been doing touring. We've just been a tour guide. But if you're interested in seeing me play, you can come there and watch. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next time when I do a stream. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your games. Merci beaucoup. And the French is, I'm trying to learn French, and there is no try, I know, but I hope to begin to do some French for Minecolonies within this year. I think that would be a really fun goal. But enjoy watching all the other gamers. Bye for now. Bye for now.